Clemency. Noun. Mercy shown when punishment could be severe. The board granted clemency after teachers wrote about his steady tutoring of younger students who had almost quit school. Evoke. Verb. To bring a feeling or image strongly to mind. The smell of wet pine could evoke last summer's hike, and she stood by the open window as if the forest were just outside the door. Vivid. Adjective. Strong and clear in the mind, as if seen in bright color. His description was vivid, painting the storm's green sky and the smell of wet asphalt so sharply that listeners leaned forward as if they were there. Frivolous. Adjective. Not serious or sensible, especially when something important is at stake. She resisted making a frivolous joke during the briefing, because the faces around the table were tight with worry and the maps were marked in red. Transparent. Adjective. Open and easy to understand, especially about motives or process. The leadership team tried to be transparent about the layoff criteria, sharing timelines and offering a clear way to ask questions privately. Contingent. Adjective. Depending on something else happening first. Their hike was contingent on dry weather, so they watched the sky at dawn. Mutable. Adjective. Likely to change, especially in ways you cannot fully predict. His schedule was mutable during the renovation, so he kept a notebook in his pocket and learned to plan dinners like weather forecasts. Coalesce. Verb. To come together into one whole. Fog and streetlights coalesce into a soft glow over the harbor. Intrepid. Adjective. Brave and determined in the face of difficulty. An intrepid reporter walked into the flooded district notebook wrapped in plastic and listened to residents describe what the water took and what it spared. Pertinent. Adjective. Directly related to what is being discussed. She asked one pertinent question about the recipe, and the whole bread rose better. Pragmatic. Adjective. Guided by practical considerations rather than ideals. He took a pragmatic approach to the budget, choosing improvements that reduced complaints quickly instead of chasing a perfect solution that would take months. Umbrage. Noun. Offense or resentment at a slight or insult. He took umbrage at the joke about his truck, then laughed when a friend tossed him the keys. Credible. Adjective. Worthy of belief because it is supported by evidence. His proposal sounded credible because he referenced prior results, outlined assumptions openly, and identified what data could still prove him wrong. Demeanor. Noun. The outward behavior and mood a person shows. Her demeanor stayed warm and measured, even when the questions turned sharp, and the air in the room felt suddenly thin. Aloof. Adjective. Cool and distant, hard to draw in. The stray cat stayed aloof on the fence, watching the porch until Trust earned a saucer of milk. Vicarious. Adjective. Experienced through another person rather than directly. She took vicarious pride in her niece's first concert, clapping until her palms stung. Tenacious. Adjective. Holding fast, stubbornly persistent. The ivy was tenacious, rooting in every crack until the old wall wore a sleeve of green. Germane. Adjective. Directly relevant to what is being discussed. Her question was germane. It pointed to the loose stare everyone else had ignored. Diffuse. Adjective. spread out and not concentrated in one place. A diffuse glow filled the kitchen at dawn, and the quiet light made even the cluttered counter look gentle and orderly. Recalcitrant. Adjective. Difficult to manage or unwilling to obey rules or guidance. The recalcitrant vine ignored trellis and twine, reaching instead for the gutter until someone finally pruned it with gloves and a patient saw. Nuanced. Adjective. Having subtle shades of meaning that resist a simple label. Her nuanced reply acknowledged the win without pretending the budget cuts had vanished. Provoke. Verb. To cause a reaction, especially an emotional one. Her careful question did not provoke anger, but it did provoke honesty, and the conversation shifted from polite talk to something real. Foremost. Adjective. First in rank or importance. Her foremost worry was the fever, not the messy house. Arduous. Adjective. Requiring great effort over a long period. Training for the mountain trek was arduous, with early mornings, heavy packs, and steady progress that rarely felt dramatic. Blunt. Adjective. Direct, to the point of seeming rude. Her blunt message ended the debate, but it also left the room tense because no one felt invited to ask questions. Irrefutable. Adjective. Impossible to deny or disprove. The footage was irrefutable, and the debate ended not with shouting but with a quiet agreement to fix what had been ignored. Abate. Verb. To become less strong or intense. When the wind began to abate, the sea's surface smoothed, and fishermen stepped back onto the pier with cautious relief and damp collars. Altruistic. Adjective. Caring about others' well-being more than your own benefit. Her altruistic choice to cover the shift was quiet, and she left no dramatic message, just a warm cup of tea waiting by the register. Covenant. Noun. A serious formal agreement that binds people to shared duties. Their covenant about noise meant midnight meant quiet, even on New Year's Eve. Vacillate. Verb. To keep changing your mind or position instead of deciding firmly. She vacillated between two paint colors for weeks, taping swatches to the door at different hours until the light settled the argument on its own. Allure. Noun. A powerful attraction that is hard to resist. The allure of the empty road at sunrise tempted them to skip breakfast, and they drove out with coffee cups warming their hands and the radio turned low. Galvanize. Verb. To shock or excite people into sudden action. The leaked report galvanized the neighborhood, and by dusk folding tables held petitions beside trays of cookies. Intentional. Adjective. Done on purpose with clear thought behind it. Every object in the small apartment felt intentional, from the single blue vase to the chair angled perfectly for the late afternoon light. Xenophobia. Noun. Fear or dislike of people from other countries. The editorial condemned the xenophobia in the campaign flyers left on windshields downtown. Scathing. Adjective. Criticizing someone or something very harshly. The review was scathing about the film's pacing, comparing the second act to waiting for a late train in an empty station with broken departure boards. Mediate. Verb. To help opposing sides settle a dispute fairly. Grandmother stepped in to mediate the argument over who would carry the lantern on the night walk. That's everything for this session. If this helped you, subscribe for more. See you next time.